Luigi's Mansion 2, or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, or Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon, or whatever the hell this game is even called, is a game that I loved when I was a kid, but sadly many don't like this game, and believe ruined the Luigi's Mansion franchise. It's a pretty divided game, and you know what that means? Time to write a video essay for no reason about a game that is 11 years old, and most people probably don't care about. Here we go! Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I will be talking about Luigi's Mansion 2 / Dark Moon. This game was one of my favorite games growing up, and I'm really excited to dive into this very polarizing title. But dare I say, incredibly underrated. Now as always, before we get into the game itself, we have to rewind back in time to go over the game's history and development. I love history! I have to guys, I have to. The story of Luigi's Mansion 2 can be traced all the way back to 2001 with the release of the first Luigi's Mansion, which was a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube. The first Luigi's Mansion was a risky game. It was something Nintendo had never really done before, and it was very dark and spooky in atmosphere. Remember, Nintendo is known for their wacky and colorful games. The biggest risk, arguably for the first Luigi's Mansion, was the focus on the title character, Luigi, instead of Mario. Though the game did well enough and people really enjoyed it. 1 year later in 2002, hardware designer Hideki Kono went to conduct experiments with glasses-free 3D technology on Luigi's Mansion. This technology would have come out on the GameCube 9 years before the 3DS, which is just insane. Nintendo was very doubtful of this 3D technology after the failure of the Virtual Boy. A new concept using LCD screens was shown at E3 2002, titled Luigi's Mansion 3D. But Nintendo didn't want to show off the 3D because even though Nintendo is a massive corporation with a multi-billion-dollar empire, just was way too stubborn and cheap to show it off and do it. Nintendo was way too cheap to even afford a damn dollhouse. Come on, Nintendo. But hey, they put it in the final game of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon because there's a dollhouse, I guess that works. The LCD 3D concept was actually called Dollhouse Mode because of the 3D effects. With Nintendo's cheapness, Kono stated that the concept would have been successful, but it was just going to be way too expensive to produce and create. Damn it, Miyamoto! We could have had a 3DS GameCube in 2002! Before the DS even came out, which means there would be no DS, so a 3D GameCube. Come on, Nintendo, we could have had it. We could have had it. Why do you always take it all away? The project would have been an add-on that would have been even more expensive than the GameCube, and the Dollhouse mode would have been eventually burned to a crisp and forgotten by history. Nintendo would keep trying to revisit the potential Luigi's Mansion sequel, especially because of the Poltergust and what ideas they had in store and possibilities it would have had. When Nintendo was developing the 3DS, the successor to the smash hit Nintendo DS, thanks to everyone's grandma and grandpa playing Brain Age and Nintendogs, the greatest games of all time. Nintendo needed to find a new studio to work on the game for this new system. This would fall into the hands of Next Level Games, who are from freaking Canada of all places. Next Level Games already had experience with Nintendo, with both Mario Strikers games for the GameCube and the Wii, and the Punch-Out reboot for the Wii, which featured freaking Donkey Kong with boxing gloves. That's awesome. The studio were actually working on a new Metroid game, but at a meeting, Kensuke Tanabe, the game's special advisor, gave a drum roll in the freaking meeting and revealed they would be working on the sequel to Luigi's Mansion, which excited them all. Development of Luigi's Mansion 2 began in 2009, before the 3DS was even announced, which initially they didn't even know what console they were working with originally, or even if it was going to be a handheld. It could have been Luigi's Mansion for the Wii, where you could point and wag at the ghosts and destroy your TV in the process. Now that is what I call immersive gameplay. But one thing they did know was the fact that they'd be using 3D technology after being informed on Project Dollhouse. Miyamoto was regularly involved in development, and fun fact, when he would visit Canada to check out the progress for Luigi's Mansion 2, other people from other video game studios would hang out around Next Level Games headquarters when they knew about his visit and they would get their 3DSs out after the 3DS came out and try to street pass him and share game data. How peculiar. Maybe that's how Nintendo keeps getting leaked all the time. Luigi's Mansion 2 would be officially revealed at E3 2011, shortly after the release of the 3DS. The tentative title was Luigi's Mansion 2 before the Dark Moon part was added for North America, and well, Luigi's Mansion 2 would end up becoming the final game title. As we see throughout the reveal trailer, you can tell they had things down, but there were tons of differences from the final game. The greenie scaring Luigi in the car doesn't happen in the final game, as well as showing Luigi's health on screen when at full health, while in the final game, it only shows on screen when you are damaged, and different room placements. But overall, the game looks like an earlier version of Luigi's Mansion 2. Luigi's Mansion 2 would be then showed off at E3 2012, and immediately we are shown the new title, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And the game looks almost like how it does in the final game. There's still tons of changes, like there being a regular Toad instead of a blue Toad in Secret Mines, a cake with a sneaker that was in Haunted Towers, which wasn't there in the final game, and Luigi still having that belt, just like at E3 2011, at the beginning of the game. Luigi's Mansion 2 would be officially released on the Nintendo 3DS on March 20th, 2013 in Japan, March 24th, 2013 in North America, and March 28th, 2013 in Europe, and the country that had a war against freaking emus and arguably lost, Australia, which also doesn't exist by the way. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon sold 6.48 million units and ended up being the 12th highest selling 3DS game of all time. Luigi's Mansion 2 is also the first game to be released under the Year of Luigi, a year that was dedicated to celebrate 30 years since Luigi's first appearance in the arcade game Mario Bros. Actually, it was the Game & Watch version, but who cares? How is that my boy Luigi? Where's the Yoki Doki? Oh, and also the year that was Nintendo's worst financial year in its modern history. No wonder why Luigi is Mario's shadow, because Luigi loses Nintendo's money. Upon release, critics and fans were very positive in reception, but there were also many who believed Dark Moon ruined the Luigi's Mansion franchise and strayed away way too far from the original Luigi's Mansion. Now let's get into the game itself. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon's menu on 3DS is honestly pretty lame. It's just a logo with a black background. I mean, come on. While in Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, it looks so much better. Huge upgrade, with the logo on top of Gloomy Manor and glimpses of other parts of Evershade Valley, the game's main location. It looks really awesome. This also goes for the file selection screen. It's so much better on the Switch. Now let's get into the game's story. Inside the Gloomy Manor, Professor Egad, who is secretly totally not a war criminal turned mad scientist, is researching inside his lab. But as we see, a ghost is about to attack Egad, but whoa! It turns out he was just playing around, along with all the other ghosts in the lab. Oh, look how nice they are with their, oh my god, their terrifying pupil eyes. Nintendo, why'd you think that was a good idea? Sweep, sweep, sweep! Nothing can go wrong, right? Wait, what is that in the sky? Wait, is that Kirby? Kirby Returns to Dreamland? Dark Moon? Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon Edition? Oh my god. Okay, it's not Kirby, it's actually King Boo. That's a shame. King Boo returns even after his attempt at possessing Bowser. And, well, Luigi also decapitating him. Okay. King Boo shoots the Dark Moon that holds all the ghosts sane in Evershade Valley. The Dark Moon breaks into 6 pieces, and they all fall across the valley. And dense purple fog sweeps throughout the valley, covering it from the light. The ghosts then lose control, as well as their pupils, and they wreak havoc with their insanity, destroying the lab and going after Egad, who narrowly escapes. After this, we are taken to Luigi's house. As we zoom in, we find our player 1 protagonist, Green Mario, Luigi, sleeping on his chair. I wonder what he's dreaming about. Suddenly the TV turns on and wakes up Luigi. Luigi then walks to the TV and for some reason decides to touch it. Why didn't he just try to turn it off completely? I don't understand. Luigi touches it, and then the mad scientist jump scares Luigi. Egad explains that the ghost had become hostile and that he needs Luigi's assistance. and with that, forces Luigi against his will to help him and pixelates him into the TV, tearing him apart bit by bit, which is absolutely barbaric of EGAD, but he gets away with it. Luigi is pixelated into EGAD's bunker in Evershade Valley. EGAD and Luigi catch up, and we learn about the Dark Moon, and we must restore it to Switzerland up the ghosts once again. And so Luigi sets out to all 5 mansions, going through ghostly trials, collecting every Dark Moon piece, and near the end of the game, in Treacherous Mansion, we are given a security recording of a train-themed room, and we see Mario, once again trapped inside a painting, just like in the first Luigi's Mansion. The image was a trap set by King Boo, who we learn is behind it all, and we are ambushed by a Big Boo, though King Boo wasn't to be seen. The periscope picks up a very strange reading in the Treacherous Mansion inside the terrace, and so with that, we head to the mansion's terrace, and Luigi finds King Boo, and he opens up a massive paranormal portal, releasing all the ghosts. King Boo then escapes with Mario, and Luigi must take out all the ghosts before the dimension collapses. Luigi succeeds and goes inside the portal, and Luigi fights a giant freaking knight from the Middle Ages. That is insane. And after doing that, Luigi obtains the last Dark Moon piece. EGAD tries to pixelate him back, but it's no use as King Boo packs it and sends Luigi back to him. After King Boo doing a little bit of trolling with Luigi,
and then you make his best friend do the disco while you dab on him, let him know you're a ninja, build a wall, shoot a rocket, and then finish him. Oh shit! No!
Luigi sees Mario's painting, but King Boo appears, revealing the fact that he destroyed the Dark Moon to control all the ghosts and wants to be the ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom, using his ghost army to take over. First off, why would you want to rule a kingdom inhabited by toads? They are pathetic little funguses, and you are already a king. You are the king of the Boos. That is way cooler than being king of a bunch of mushroom people. Luigi then battles King Boo and beats King Boo, taking the crown jewel, and returns back with Mario's painting. We free Mario even if he deserves to stay trapped in that painting because, well, we all know Mario's a war criminal. Mario wakes up and thanks Luigi, which I'll admit was very wholesome, even called Luigi number 1. I like that. That's really cool. All the rescued toads bring in the Dark Moon pieces, and the Dark Moon is rebuilt into the sky. With that, all the insane ghosts across the valley return to being pacified, as well as their terrifying pupils. Oh god. EGAD releases all the captured ghosts in his lab, and everyone is playing around, celebrating and having fun, which is, just again, super wholesome. Then everyone gets ready for a picture, and they all jump at once for the camera. We return to Luigi's house, with that very same picture on the wall, and Luigi's new dog, Polterpup, as we saw throughout the game, comes out of nowhere and lays on Luigi's lap, and they go to sleep, concluding the story of the main game of Luigi's Mansion 2. Now, I think the story, although not anything crazy, did a really good job with the stakes and tension, especially towards the end, with the collapsing dimension, but also just all the fun, wholesome moments. It's nothing super deep, but it's a really fun one. The presentation of Luigi's Mansion 2 is, I'll just say this, amazing. First, I need to talk about how the characters were portrayed. All the characters arguably have the best personalities in the entire Mario franchise. Luigi shines in this game, and he is absolutely hilarious, and his scaredy cat trait is through the roof in this game. Luigi's cutscenes have him chilling in the elevator with totally nothing about to go wrong, or him trying to jump off the freaking tree from the inside, saying, "Here I go," like it's the end, or Luigi just messing around with the portals. Luigi even flashes himself, and even his animations in EGAD's lab just shine personality. When he reacts to EGAD, I dare say this is some of the best Luigi we have ever seen in the entire Mario franchise. Luigi is phenomenal in this game. Egad is a freaking monster and I love it. His dialogue is gold, like calling Luigi Mario's shadow, his stupid jokes, and even neglecting the Toads. It's just really funny. Hell, even the Boos make awful jokes, every single one in the game, and it's really charming, I guess, even though the jokes are kind of dumb. They all have different names. It's like puns with the Boo name. I don't know. It's fun. Like it's charming. It's fun. And as said, Mario shouldn't really care about Luigi, and congrats him. It's probably the best moment between the Mario Brothers and the entire franchise, as said previously. Even though Mario has barely any screen time in this game, I think this is some of the best Mario we've ever had. And also just the friendship between Luigi and the Toads, it's just so nice, especially when Luigi claps the Toads. It's so cool. I enjoyed that. That's fun. Everything has so much character and charm, and is by far one of, if not the best part of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. The graphics are some of the 3DS's best, and also looks really good on a Switch. I'm a big fan of the graphics. They look nice. Now, compared to its predecessor, Dark Moon is much more lighthearted and family-friendly. The game isn't as dark and eerie as the original game. The original was super dark in its atmosphere, and hell, even quite unthinkable for Nintendo. I mean, I'm surprised Nintendo went that direction. The game is also much more cartoony than the first Luigi's Mansion. Now, the first Luigi's Mansion would have cartoony moments, don't get me wrong, but the second game kind of takes that up to the next level with all of its cutscenes and its animations and kind of the style they went with. It's much more cartoony than the first game in that regard. Now, some people don't like that, and that's understandable, but it gives the game so much more personality. Even the ghosts have personality, which wasn't done much for the regular ghosts in the first game. The music is also really fitting, and the coolest thing about it is that every mansion uses the same theme, but each is used in a way where it's fitting to that mansion's corresponding theme, which makes it kind of immersive, and is quite creative with the one theme, and you don't really notice it. At least I didn't. I mean, you can tell it's the same theme, but it's not incredibly noticeable. So, again, points there, Nintendo. Now on to the gameplay. The gameplay of Dark Moon is really fun, especially with the new mechanics. Luigi once again has a vacuum cleaner that destroys absolutely everything in its path, destroying entire ghost civilizations. Hell, now that I realize it, isn't Luigi technically a Ghostbuster? Maybe Marshmallow Man is King Boo and is behind it all. Hell, the green ghosts are like that one green ghost from Ghostbusters, whatever his name was. Nintendo, give us the crossover. We need that. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. Anyway, this vacuum is the Poltergust 5000, which allows us to do basically everything in the game. The Poltergust 5000 is the main mechanic, just like in the first game. Luigi is able to vandalize mansions and also suck up ghosts. You're also able to suck up different objects and use them for puzzles, like the balloon things, which allows you to fly, or being able to pull things, revealing new areas. The Poltergust 5000 also sports upgrades for large charges against ghosts, which is very satisfying. You find it in Egad's car in the first level, and in that very same level, another mechanic, the strobe bulb, is introduced. The strobe bulb is a green bulb that allows you to flash ghosts, exposing them, allowing you to suck them up. You're also able to access strobe bulb panels, which can unlock new secrets and areas. In the mansions, you can also flash and activate bombs. Watch out! No! And E-gates, which teleport Luigi to different sections in the mansion and allow for faster travel. Finally, Luigi also dons the Dark Light, which sure as hell ain't dark because of all the colors. Yeah, right, Nintendo. The Dark Light is found in the 4th level of the Gloomy Manor in Egad's lab. This device allows Luigi to reveal hidden objects like doors or chests, in which you then have to suck up glowing paranormal orbs, which will then reveal whatever was hidden. The Dark Light also lets you shine paintings, revealing what was inside the paintings, like money, keys, or even toads and an Italian man who loves shrooms. And like the charges for the Poltergust 5000, you can also upgrade the Dark Light to have it be more powerful. These are Luigi's main gameplay elements, and these additions enrich the gameplay and really make it fun and interesting in ways better than the original game, arguably, in some areas. Now, one of my favorite parts of Luigi's Mansion 2 is the fact that you can jump while trying to suck up ghosts. That move is awesome. I mean, it makes sense Luigi can jump, so it makes sense that Luigi has a jumping move. It's used to dodge ghosts as well. It's a great addition and was lacking in the first game. Now, that's not all. There's also sections where you have to balance Luigi, and oh my god, those sections I sucked at when I was a kid. On the 3DS, you had to like actually shake the system. Oh my god, that was a pain in the ass back then. But on the Switch, you use it by using the analog stick, so those sections are a lot easier on the Switch version, at least in my personal opinion. There's also sliding sections which sadly only appear twice, and it's really fun to just slide down a slide, and it's quite exhilarating. Those are really fun. There's also rare instances where you shoot things with turrets, and I have to say this, it's fun, though I hit this freaking mouse a million times and it didn't count. Literally, I shot him. Damn it, Disney. Why? Now, the controls overall of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon are pretty good, honestly, on both Switch and 3DS. However, I need to get this off my chest. The section where you shoot the hiders, the blue ghosts with the snowballs, is easily one of, if not the worst part of the game. It is horrible. You have to be perfect with the aiming. The hiders go away really fast. The aiming is super clunky. It doesn't work correctly. It's a mess. This game's aiming isn't very good, honestly, as you can tell. But the snowballs take a million years to respawn, and you only have literally a minute on the clock. And again, those snowballs take forever. And if you run out of time, you have to start over. Not just start over, but you have to restart the entire level. So you have to go back, do everything in that level up to that point, so you can then go to that bonus area, so you can finally do it again, which doesn't even guarantee you will be able to do it. It's horrible. Horrible part. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but it was just bad. Enough said. Just bad. One thing about the game I really don't like is the fact that EGAD calls you all the time. All the time. You collect something, he calls you. You go into a room, he calls you. You even just move, and he calls you. He calls you all the time. It's ridiculous and very repetitive, especially early in the game. But it does get a little better by the later parts of the game, but early on, oh my god, it is awful. Now, how exactly does he call you? Well, he gives you a new device called the Dual Screen, which is literally the original 2004 DS with EGAD speakers. He has to put his face on everything. EGAD is trying to own the rights to the DS. Nintendo, sue him right now. The Dual Screen is basically your map, which allows you to see a layout of all the mansions, and they also help tell you where to go. It's this game's version of the Game Boy Horror, and I love how they keep using actual Nintendo systems for your map and how you contact EGAD. It's really awesome and creative. It's also a lot more immersive on 3DS because it's like actually using the DS Dual Screen for your map. Like you actually, you have a dual screen in your hands. It's a 3DS, but still, you know what I mean? The Switch version is a lot different, with the map being on screen, and there's a new UI where you zoom in to control it, which is pretty cool, just not as immersive as the 3DS version. Now let's talk about the game's locations. That's right, plural, not singular, plural. Mansion with an S. Luigi's Mansion 2 has 5 full mansions to explore, instead of one massive mansion like the original. The 5 mansions are all unique and stand out from each other. First, Gloomy Manor is the first mansion of the game, and it's the simplest mansion. It's a classic mansion with medieval elements like giant knight armor trying to kill you, but also a fish tank that moves, okay, with a fish that looks pretty terrifying, and spider infestations, and a toilet door. What is this, The Last Crusade? Why do they have a toilet door? It's literally The Last Crusade where they move the rooms. Like, what the heck, Nintendo? This mansion is a solid starter mansion, but isn't as interesting as the others. Next, Haunted Towers is the second mansion of the game, with 2 towers built around a colossal tree with overgrown plants spreading and taking over the facility. This mansion contains murderous plants, giant pianos, and stairs that try to kill you. This mansion is really fun, especially with all the cool gimmicks with the tree theme. Next, Old Clockworks, the third mansion of the game, is a big factory themed around clocks. Sand is everywhere, and you find King Tut's tomb. Oh my god! This mansion is also really fun, especially with it being filled with bombs. Honestly, I used to hate this mansion when I was a kid, but after replaying the game, honestly, it's a pretty solid mansion. I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. Next, Secret Mine is the fourth mansion of the game, and it's a chalet with a giant mine underneath, so basically a haunted Liechtenstein. That's pretty epic. This mansion is filled with snow and ice and has tons of red crystals, which in this scene here, these boos literally torture the ghosts inside those red crystals. Though, is it really torture if they're already dead? This mansion is great, though sadly, it's the shortest in the game with only 4 main missions, unlike the rest, which have 6 main missions, which we will talk about here very soon. Finally, Treacher's Mansion, the 5th and final mansion of the game, is a huge mansion surrounded by a giant waterfalls. This mansion is incredibly dynamic, with all of what it offers, from medieval dungeons, jungles, giant sandheads, a freaking mammoth in the snow, yet they're supposed to be extinct? How is that even possible? You can even interact with him. He tries to kill you. That was cool. The mammoth, that's cool. I'll give him credit. That's cool. All these areas are obviously references to the previous mansions, which this mansion kind of does. It kind of combines all these previous themes into one mansion, into their own sections. On the second floor of the mansion, you also have 4 rooms based on aviation, space, boats, and trains. Some are even utilized for fights, which we will get to. This mansion has some of the best missions in the entire game, especially when you have to clear the entire mansion of ghosts before the end. That was fun. It's so good. All these mansions offer a lot of fun, but yes, they aren't exactly like the original one from the first game. Like said previously, the mansions are mission structured, making them much more linear than the first game. Now, some people don't like this. Well, most people, honestly. And I can definitely understand that. I completely understand that. It places restrictions, and many times you don't have much freedom to go wherever you want in these mansions because you're only limited to these areas. The game was designed that way because it was a handheld game to pick up and play and give you good stopping points, not a console game like the first one. Now, the missions overall, I mean, they're fine. Like, they do what you expect them to do. You gotta go get an object, you gotta go get a key to unlock a certain area and explore that, you know, stuff like that. It's what you would expect with a Luigi's Mansion mission structure. However, you have a lot of these missions that do recur in a lot of the mansions, like Toad missions and Polterpup missions. Now, let's start with the Toad missions. The Toad missions, well, they're exactly what you expect. You gotta go rescue Toad. So you gotta go shine the dark light on the painting, rescue Toad, and you gotta get Toad out of there. And Toad is very annoying. He's supposed to follow you, but he doesn't really do that half the time. He doesn't like water. He runs around crying in terror. He's just, he can be annoying, especially if you're right there. But Toad's like, hey, come over here! I need you to get me! Yet you're right there. Like, Toad's not the greatest. He's kind of broken in this game. Now, the Polterpup missions, those, again, very repetitive. Now, you get a key thinking, oh yeah, let's go, we can finally go to this area, we complete the mission, but nope. Polterpup comes in, he snatches that key or whatever that object is, and the very next mission, you have to go chase around the mansion and look for Polterpup so you can finally get that key again. That's filler. Like, I'm being honest, that's just dragging out the mansion at that point. It's just dragging things out. It doesn't need to be that long. You know what I mean? Now, overall, the mission structure, I'm not the biggest fan of it either, but I think it does fine enough. It does what it does. It's not terrible, but I definitely do prefer how the first game did it, where it was just completely exploratory. That was much better. Now, exploration does exist because there's tons of secrets across the mansions. There's tons of treasure made up of coins, dollars, and gold bars, which are actually useful in this game, unlike, say, New Super Mario Bros. 2, thanks to upgrades, which is very ironic considering New Super Mario Bros. 2 was all about coins, yet the coins are kinda useless. Gold bones, which serve as an extra life if you die. The biggest collectibles being gems and booze. There are 13 gems in each mansion, varying in shape and color. These gems promote exploration, which is great, and once you obtain all gems in a mansion, you unlock a statue of Luigi in different poses, which is pretty fun. There's also boos hidden in each level. You find them using the Darklight device, then you fight the boos by pulling their freaking tongue out, and they bounce all over the place, which is kinda satisfying, I can't lie. And then you suck them up by brutally slamming them into the ground, as well as a rank badge, and a ranking system in general, depending on how well you do in that mission. Once you get every boot in a mansion, you unlock a secret level where you go around the mansion trying to take down all the ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Dark Moon has a variety of ghost types, starting with Greenies, the Goomba ghost pretty much. But they can also use objects like swords and shields, as well as turn themselves into mummies. Slammers are the big red ghosts that clap their hands and slam you. Hiders are the long blue ghosts. I like to call them Waluigi ghosts because of how long and skinny they are. They hide and throw things. Sneakers sneak around and scare you and can be honestly pretty annoying, especially when there's so many around you. It's a little much, honestly. Gobbers are the huge yellow ghosts that throw up at you and they eat shoes, arguably probably one of the hardest ghost types in the game. Creepers are the purple ghosts that turn into puddles, and if you get too close to that puddle, they will try to digest you. That is pretty dark. They even reproduce into smaller versions of themselves. And smaller enemies, like mice, bats, frogs, spiders, who are unironically probably how I got damaged the most in my playthrough of the game again, they are the hardest to deal with in the game, honestly. You also have poltergeists, who go me 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 me, and they can be pretty tough. They even have like a brain in their head. Finally, like we said earlier with his missions, Polterpup, who is a pest in our side always, taking our damn items we need, though he becomes a good boy and becomes Luigi's dog who appears in Luigi's Mansion 3. Sadly, there's no portrait ghosts, but with the game's design, it's understandable. All the ghosts are generic, but they do work, I guess, and they all have personalities. And their personalities really shine when inside the mansions, there's little holes or windows you can look at, and you can look inside, and you can see the ghosts just kind of messing around with each other. And, it kind of shines their personalities, I guess. All of them are pretty stereotypical, like the red ghost being angry, which I think, again, is really cool. Lets you interact with the mansions more. They also have more powerful variants, which are all harder to take down because of their increased health. Also, goldies that are basically just gold greenies that when killed give you tons of money. Luigi's Mansion 2's bosses are nothing to write home about. Every mansion has mini bosses, like the Three Sisters boss fight, which I struggled with as a kid, and I had my mom help me. Yeah, I did not know how to game when I was a kid. The poltergeists, like we discussed, are also technically their own mini bosses. Hell, you even fight one of them in space, on a moon, with rings. That was probably one of the coolest parts of the game. Really cool fight. It's literally Luigi's Mansion in space. Make it happen, Nintendo. Make it happen. Or forcing a boo to get drilled by a train. Now on to the actual main boss fights. Each mansion has a boss mission at the end, with a possessor ghost that have one of the Dark Moon pieces. These ghosts possess things like giant spiders, freaking stairs, and a clock. As well as the icy ground monster thing, which is by far the worst boss in the game. It is downright terrible. If you don't take each ice piece down in time, your cannon that you have to use to shoot him will overheat, and you'll have to restart the entire boss fight again. Hell, shooting the mouth is awful and unintuitive. It's inconsistent. Look, I literally shot his mouth, but nope. The game said, nope, you did not shoot the mouth. Time to do it again. which wastes more time. It just doesn't work half the time. It's a terrible boss. Also a giant knight. That is also a bit annoying, but pretty cool nonetheless. Now, King Boo's final boss battle, it is decent, but it's nothing to write home about. It's not as cool as the final boss fight from the first Luigi's Mansion, but you can argue you're more so fighting King Boo in this game for the final boss than, say, Bowser, because you're basically fighting Bowser in the first game, just with, obviously, King Boo making cameos here and there, if that makes sense. So I think it does better in that regard, where, okay, you're actually fighting King Boo this time. But instead of that, with King Boo's fight in this game, you just gotta wait for the spike balls to crush King Boo and take him down. Though I will say, I do like the running sections. They're pretty fun and are just like running away from that boulder in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Wow, second Indiana Jones reference. Overall, the bosses are fine, nothing spectacular. Though, again, the ice one can just rot in hell. Screw that one. There's also Skyscraper mode, an online mode where you can join up with 3 other Luigis to take on custom 5-floor mansions, and you must clear all the ghosts, which then ends in a chaotic final, which, with all these different Luigis, it was actually pretty fun. This mode also has a lot of custom skins for the ghosts in this game, which is really nice to have, especially with this game not having a lot of ghost diversity. At least they're giving skins to these already existing ones. It's a bit different. Now, as always, let's talk about the game's modding scene. But hey, look, we got Red Luigi! Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon definitely left an impact on steering the franchise into a more lighthearted, eccentric style and moved away from the darkness of the first game. Luigi's Mansion as a franchise will be represented by Dark Moon for years, especially from references to it in other games. Here are some examples. New Super Luigi U, another Year of Luigi game, has artwork of King Boo and Luigi from Dark Moon in one of its levels. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Luigi's Final Smash is the Poltergust 5000, which is from Dark Moon. And even Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge. Anybody remember that game? Probably not. This game gave Luigi Dark Moon themed levels. Now, not just that, I do want to highlight this. There was also a full-blown arcade game based off Dark Moon called Luigi's Mansion Arcade, which I have actually played before, and despite the pay-to-win, it's an arcade game, that's just how it goes. It's really good, especially because of the real-life Poltergust you use. And graphically speaking, it was technically the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD of the time. Next Level Games, due to the success of Dark Moon sales on the 3DS, would develop a sequel titled Luigi's Mansion 3, which was originally planned for the Wii U, but because of its failure, was then moved over to the Switch. But in the meantime, before its release, a 3DS remaster of the first Luigi's Mansion would be released for the 3DS, which just kind of came and went. Like it came out after the Switch. Kind of forgettable, but they did add a lot of aspects from Dark Moon, like the Stroll Bulb was added, Polterpup was added, which was really cool. I gotta admit, seeing these aspects from Luigi's Mansion 2 and Luigi's Mansion 1 is really surreal. And after that, Luigi's Mansion 3 would release in 2019 to critical acclaim, and it retained much of Dark Moon and its mechanics, and it even expanded upon those mechanics and added new mechanics. 5 years after the release of Luigi's Mansion 3 in 2024, Dark Moon would be ported to the Nintendo Switch, known as Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, bringing the game to HD and a home console for the first time. Nothing was really added to the game, but things were touched up, like the graphics and the resolution, plus Worldwide Skyscraper, which I think was a good addition. Reception-wise, people have warmed up to the game over the years. Even at launch, people loved the game, but as time went on, people were not liking this game. But ever since the release of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, more people have been able to touch the game, and I feel like more people are truly appreciating the game, and for what it was, which is a great thing. In conclusion, Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon is a really good game, and it expanded the fundamental possibilities of Luigi's Mansion in ways the first honestly couldn't at the time. This game brought back Luigi's Mansion after a 12-year-long hiatus, but this game proved there's still more you can do with an Italian man sucking up ghosts. Arguably the better sequel, Luigi's Mansion 3, would never have been possible without Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon laying the groundwork and creating those possibilities to give the ghost hunting plumber a future. Sure, it's not perfect and it has its flaws, but the good far outweigh the bad, and it's a game that helped create a greater future for Luigi's Mansion. Hey guys, thank you for watching this retrospective. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you guys on the next one. See ya.